Hello, this is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. I'm a big fan of Kiss Looms. I greatly enjoy mine, and I am cooperating with Kelly at Kiss Looms to make you a playlist of all the basic techniques that you might ever want to know on all of the looms. So welcome and enjoy.
I'm working in the back loop here for some of these stitches. This is a question that comes up from time to time, is how do we do a certain hand knitting stitch on the Kiss loom. And here I'm working rib stitch, but twisted rib stitch is done by working in the back loop instead of the front loop if you have all your stitches on 2 needles. Well, of course, I have all of my stitches on 1 loom. So how did I make this row come out similar to how it would come out as if I worked it into the back loop? And as soon as I knit this row over, I'll show you on the next row how we can make that happen. The knitting part is actually just the same. The setting up for a back loop occurs after we knit 1 row and before we knit the next row. The 2 end stitches on each end are normal knit stitches. They're just creating my edging and I'm not going to fool with them. All the purl stitches are going to be normal purl stitches. But before I knit the row, I'm going to lift each knit stitch that was just completed, twist, and reseat it. Twist it and reseat it. And this gives the same effect as it would if I were working with 2 needles and went in the back door of a stitch rather than the front door. There are those who say, well, that's just about the same thing to E-wrap. And there are certainly similarities, but there are a couple of major differences. E-wrap, of course, uses more yarn than the U-wrap we're doing here. So if I were to E-wrap, it would automatically create a looser stitch. The other thing is that E-wrapping occurs this row. It does not affect the stitch that was already knitted and how I go through it. So those who wish to use that have to think ahead and accomplish the E-wraps where they want them to appear. And here I can just twist the stitch whenever I want to. The effects are undoubtedly similar, and if you like the other method, use it. But certainly the more traditional knitting in the back of the stitch would be accomplished this way. Lift, twist, replace, lift, twist, replace, lift, twist, replace, lift, twist, replace. Now we wrap normally. That's a knit stitch. As you know, I could be purling the purls with a special Kiss purling hook, and I'm choosing just to use the main hook. That doesn't affect matters. One interesting thing I noted while researching for this video is in most patterns, hand knitting patterns that is, that call for stitches knitted through the back, people don't knit all of the stitches through the back. They'll be like this one. I'm knitting twisted rib, but only the knit stitches are approached through the back of the loop. The purl stitches are approached in the normal way. And it is thought that the reason this has become traditional is that it creates a deeper texture. Oops. The fabrics created with some of the stitches twisted and others not have a more complex, deep texture. They are a little bit more cushiony than the completely flat knitted stitches. And the ribbing is a bit more springy. Okay, here we are. We're looking at, these are my purl stitches. They are not twisted. They look completely like normal knit stitches because we're looking at the knit side of the stitch. And a knit stitch is, of course, the exact reverse of a purl stitch, unless you twist it. And here you can definitely see the different effect. In case you're not accustomed to looking at knitted stitches, see how these go around, but they cross at the bottom, right there? Each stitch does that. The ones on my edging do not, because I did not lift them and twist them, mimicking working into the back of the loop. Actually, it's not mimicking. Because I twisted it and set it back on the peg, I then did work into the back of the loop. Normal knit stitches, twisted knit stitches achieved by working into the back of the loop. It makes this column of stitches a bit tighter than the corresponding column on the other side. I think you can clearly see that on the film. And I do believe it's living up to its reputation of making a very springy ribbing. Ribbing isn't the only way that you can use this. There are some other textured stitches, but as I was looking for a way to show you the effect, it was the one that I thought created a dramatic effect. One more quick review. Take the knit stitches, and before we wrap them, we're going to lift each, twist it, and replace it on the same peg. Must be a clockwise twist. So if you are working with a hand knitting stitch design, trying to recreate it, it's not usually very difficult to do that on a kiss. And if it calls for knitting into the back loop, each stitch that needs to be knitted into the back loop should get this treatment. Now you can knit and purl the row as called for, and you'll get the correct effect.